In the last week, we had Elon Musk in our building, and after he visited the building, he called for a 50% cut of the entire agency. My colleagues are getting 15-minute one-on-one check-ins with 19, 20, and 21-year-old college graduates asking to justify their existence.
Well, bye.
The DOGE team is out there doing tremendous work, and I am behind it 100%. They're finding useless employees, they're finding useless agencies, and they are shutting them down and getting them out of government work to, of course, save all of our tax dollars. But, of course, someone who's unsurprisingly on both sides of the issue is Bill Maher. So before we get to these clips, don't forget to like and comment on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
There is so much to cut, but there's a way to do it. For example, I read the Justice Department's Environmental Division. They want to cut. And there's also the EPA's Environmental Justice Office. So the EPA has a Justice Office, and the Justice Department has an Environmental Office. How about everybody just do their own job? It reminds me of the fact that we have, I'm saying, there is all this. We have like 4 Air Forces. Like, we have the Air Force,
right.
But the Navy has an Air Force, and the Army has an Air Force, and everybody has an Air Force.
And I bet they're expensive, by the way.
And the police department here, I think, has an Air Force, too. It's like, so, it's not like but the way you're doing it is a little crazy. These teenagers who are rummaging through buildings, I mean, this is really what was in the plan? There's no better way to do this, softer, a little?
Having been a member of Congress, I'm telling you that town is against stopping anything or cutting any spending. The entire town is focused with just spending more money. And so the only way, in my opinion, you can really get into it is you have to walk into buildings and cease operations and see exactly what's going on and to let the public know what's going on. So that the public is aware of the mismanagement, the improper payments,
What about the Department of Education? Now, I don't know that much about it, but I've never read good things. Yeah. Rahm Emanuel, who I agree with on almost everything, here was a quote. He said, 1/3 of 8th graders can't read, and now he wants to close the department? And I thought, that's probably why they can't read. Or at least partly. I mean, the numbers keep getting worse and worse and worse. And I don't know if the Department of Education is anything but, I mean, it doesn't really, I don't know what it does, except take money. It's sort of a middleman. It doesn't like run classrooms or do stuff like that. I don't think it makes policy. So where are you on something like that?
I think that the Department of Education has to essentially be closed. A lot of the authorities got to get sent back to the states. The dollars we appropriate actually need to go directly into the hands of parents so that they can use those resources in their states and in their communities to find the best outcome for their children. When the Department of Ed was created in 1977, our reading scores and math scores for kids 4th and 8th grade were higher than they are today.
No.
So it's not worked.
I mean, I read this, I'm stealing this from Nellie Bowles' column, but in the Michigan, the contract from the teachers union says, you cannot be fired for getting caught drunk as a teacher until you do it for a 5th time.
What?
Yeah, the first 4 times, you're good.
They didn't take the Pete Hegseth vow.
Counseling.
I will stop drinking when I start the job.
And also, if you're caught selling drugs twice, that's when we fire you. The first time, you're good.
That's insane.
I mean, it is insane.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not like there isn't insanity that has to be addressed. And it's not like the kids are getting smarter.
So that's the crux of the point. What does the Department of Education actually do? Because they're not in charge of teacher pay. That's up to your local governments, okay? Instead, they, of course, do grants and aid. They try to give out money to get people to be compliant to the federal policies, okay? That's basically what they do to the tune of $250 billion every single year, right? And what do we get on our return of investment, right? We're dead last out of 40 nations in education, all right? But we do spend the most per pupil. That's exactly what's happening, right? Our educational system has not not gotten better since the inception of the Department of Education. It has gotten worse. And I can talk about a myriad of reasons why that's happening, but let's focus on this government agency, which is the prime example of something that could go away tomorrow and no one would notice. So of course, if you were to ask a government employee what they actually do, oh, they provide financial support to help districts reach their goals. But of course, those goals are not being met. So has any of that support ever been withheld? And the answer to that, of course, is no, making this a prime agency that we could cut back drastically on. And this, of course, is where Bill Maher is talking some sense, despite the fact that actually comes out and says, oh, Rahm Emanuel said this, even though Rahm Emanuel, of course, is an avowed socialist. And Bill Maher actually says, oh, I agree with him on almost everything. So, of course, Bill Maher is exposing himself a little bit right there. But now let's see Bill Maher take the other side of the issue and say, hey, we're actually cutting way too much.
Now, here's the problem for all the people who are upset about what the Republicans are doing. This was in the New York Times of all places this week. Democratic parties. Many Americans say they do not believe the Democratic Party is focused on the issues that matter most to them. So if you think all this Trump stuff is going to go away because the other party is going to come in, well, that may not be the case. Here's what people think is important to the Democrats: abortion, LGBTQ rights, and climate change. Now, I have to say, I'm one of those people who certainly thinks climate change should be at the top of my list. And this is my complaint with the Democrats. I said this at the end of last year after the election. Like, if you asked voters, like, what's the important issues to you? To me, as a voter, my issues were democracy and the environment. Those are my top two. And now I have no one who's a champion for those issues in the government. And I blame the Democrats for that. I blame them because they are not, the people do not feel they're representing them, and they're losing. Here's what the people say they care about: the economy, inflation, healthcare, and immigration.
I think for the Democrats, it's about just looking at where people are. And I think if they're going to still be locked into LGBTQ stuff, and just look at USAID funding. USAID funding, the stuff that's like the super crazy stuff, is all left-wing political viewpoints.
But that's not most of it.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I didn't say it was most of it, but what I'm saying, the only thing I'm gonna say is, when you have that kind of stuff permeating any organization, you have to go through and examine the entire organization.
Yes,
and then leave
I
the stuff
agree.
that's good and get rid of the rot.
I know, but that's not what they're doing. They're just getting rid of everything all at once. I agree. It's a $40 billion program. The mission creep in government is outrageous.
Yeah.
And it does go on way too much. I saw the Government Accounting Office, that's not the Trump administration, said in the last 20 years, I think it was something like 2.2.
It's $3 trillion.
Well, it was a little less than that, but in trillions of improper payments.
Yes.
This is trillions, not billions. What could we have done with that money? In 2023, it was 236 billion of improper payment. So it's not like this does not have to be done, but the way they're doing it, to cut it all off right away, when there are, I mean, I don't know how much aid we should be giving other countries. Maybe other countries could do it for themselves, some of them, if we weren't always there to do it. But that can't happen overnight, because the people who aren't getting the food or the medicine, they're the ones who are going to suffer. You don't see why people find this incredibly cruel?
You said earlier that we're treating it as if it's an overweight person, putting them on a crash diet. Oh no. The federal government is essentially somebody who's 800 pounds, and you cannot survive like this. So yes, there are some drastic measures that have to be taken, and I will add this to you. If you think it's bad now, if we get into a real debt crisis, it will be significantly worse for the American people and other people that we might help around the globe. The best thing to do right now, get in quick. You're gonna have to shut some things down, triage the area, rebuild the stuff that is good, that we all can agree with. The other stuff that's hyper-political or makes no sense or fraudulent or extremely wasteful, that stuff's gotta go.
Okay, but like,
Please.
And the Democrats won't do it.
okay. Let's put that 800-pound person on Ozempic and like give it a few months. You know what I mean?
Yes. Ozempic.
Ozempic, okay? And by the way,
Whereas you're just taking a knife and
Yeah.
cutting off their big fat stomach.
You can't do that.
That's not the way to lose weight.
A plastic surgeon would never do that.
Never do that.
You know?
So recognizing the waste that is going on, the amount of money that is just being thrown away that could have been used in this country, Bill Maher, of course, is saying, oh, we can't just cut everything off. And I have to say this, okay? If you're going to make these radical changes, we have to strike now. We have to strike fast. And the reason for that is no one's ever tried this before, right? We always talk about reining in the government spending, but then no one ever does anything, all right? But here Donald Trump is, for the first time in my lifetime at least, that anyone is trying to claw back that spending and get rid of the waste. And yes, we have to strike quickly before everybody goes, oh, I don't know, let's be nice to those federal employees, all right? Let's go ahead and give them their huge holidays, their huge paychecks for not having to show up to work. And by the way, all they're doing is passing along checks to, I don't know, terrorist organizations and foreign countries that are not our allies or friends in any way whatsoever, all right? But Bill Maher, of course, we have to give this a few months to set in, right? We're taking this way too seriously. We're acting way too quickly. And I say good huzzah for that, okay? But also, I love how Bill Maher actually starts this segment off by saying his main focus is the environment. So he's an old man, all right, without any kids. And all he cares about is the environment. That is his biggest #1 issue in America, with all the garbage that's going on here every single day, every single week, year after year. He sees so many issues that are impacting this nation and rightly complains about them. But of course, what's his main issue? The environment. So it's time to wake up, Bill, on that one. Everyone wants clean water and air and no pollution, etc., okay? But when we enact policies that actually hurt people in the name of helping the environment, that of course is when you've gone a bridge too far. But that of course is where we're at. We're seeing Bill Maher on both sides of the issue. He's seeing the waste, but of course we can't cut too much. He's seeing the issues, but it's not the biggest issue that we have in this nation. And that of course is where we stand. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.